Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Social Media Success for Professionals. I'm your host, Heather Holloway, and today joining me, I'm so excited, joining me again is my very good friend, Dr. Rebecca Woodbury Keller. She is the CEO of RATATAZ, the CEO of RS4K. She's a Newsweek expert forum contributing writer, and like I said, my friend. So thank you so much for being here, Rebecca.
Thank you, Heather. It's always great to chat with you. Enjoy being here.
I know. I love just chatting with you. This podcast, if we don't cut it off, will run on forever. So we are here to accomplish talking about AI. It is the hot topic, ChatGPT, Jasper. And you, my friend, wrote an article on Newsweek titled AI and Human Creativity, 5 Ways to Cultivate Creative Thinking. And you lead with this question: will AI replace human creativity? And really, that's what I want to talk about today.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I got inspired. I was on TikTok and I was watching all these little, TikTok videos by teachers, by professors, by people who are concerned that AI is going to take over human creativity. And and that's what inspired me to write this article.
So before we get into that, I was hoping that you could educate, since we're a PhD, MED, educate our audience on what it is that you do.
So, right, good question. I write science books for kids and science programs for kids, focused on getting kids to learn the basic building blocks of science before they jump into upper level high school or college level courses. And so I've spent the last 30 years thinking about curriculum, developing curriculum, trying to unpack the way kids and adults learn, and then trying to create books and programs that really facilitate an individual's, capability of learning science. I mean, what does it really take to learn a subject like science? And that's what I've been trying to develop for the last 30 years, and got a series of textbooks, working on more textbooks, readers, working on some STEM kits for classrooms, homeschools, alternative schools, now public schools.
Yeah, and the key word is not trying. You did, my friend.
Oh, yes.
You did.
I did. Yes. No, I have created all of these. I think the trying part is trying to figure out how to get others to learn, to want to learn, to be motivated to learn a subject that many find intimidating, or can struggle with.
Yeah.
So what are the elements of that?
Yeah. And so, so you are a writer, you're a published author, you have curriculum, and you're on to the AI thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the AI thing. Well, I think the AI thing is fascinating to me. I had not heard of ChatGPT. Of course, I was aware of a couple of the other AIs, like Grammarly fixes your grammar a little bit, and Jasper creates some stuff for you. And then there was this hoopla around ChatGPT, so I went on to ChatGPT, played with it for the whole weekend because it was fun.
Yeah.
And then started listening to some videos of educators who were concerned that ChatGPT is going to take over creativity, that we're no longer going to need to be creators of anything. And I disagree with that. I think that AI will augment a person's creativity if we learn how to use it properly, but there isn't going to be anything that replaces human creativity, because we're human. We have a unique experience. We have a unique history. Yeah. We can learn a unique set of facts and have a unique set of experiences that then we can translate into a unique perspective. And that, to me, is the value of humanity, is that we're all just unique. And yeah, you can argue that, well, we can make robots have unique experiences too, but they're not going to have a human experience. And so that, I think, is the differentiator. And yet we have to continue to cultivate what I call creative thinking skills. There's critical thinking skills, right? But I think we also need to think of ways to cultivate creative thinking skills. And what does that look like? Yes, you can type in, hey, ChatGPT, create a novel for me about this topic. And it's going to be the AI's ideas about what that looks like. And it's probably not going to be all that well written, at least yet. But, what would be my ideas? How do I cultivate my own unique perspectives? How do I put that into words? How do I find the language to express myself?
Yeah.
That's going to be, and that's what I'm interested in AI and the conversation around AI, because there's a lot of people saying, well, it's just going to replace so much of what we do as human beings. And I think it will replace some of what we do.
Yeah.
But the advantage that we as human beings have is we can utilize AI to help us,
Yeah.
not to replace us.
Yeah, that's right. Help, not replace. It is but a tool. It is not the answer.
Right.
So we use Jasper. So big fans of Jasper. We have used that now for probably almost about 2 years. But I got to tell you, Rebecca, there was a time when Jasper, when the news hit and this thing was out, and I saw the Facebook group go from, a couple thousand people to 10,000, 15, 20. There's a private Facebook group. It just kept growing. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to shut my laptop. And I guess I'm just going to go grab a volleyball and head out to an island, because my job's done. I'm no longer in use. You don't need me to write your messages anymore. Jasper even has artwork. You type in a word and then they pop up artwork. Okay, well, now you don't need my graphic design skills either. Yet, quality in, quality out, you still have to know, creatively think about what it is you're looking for from this software, right?
Right. Yes, and you have to, and that was my first point in the article, was you have to have a knowledge base in order to think creatively in that venue, right? Like I really want to write a software app to map mountain biking and on top of campsites, because I want to be able to pull that data and I want to be able to type something in and say, I want to do this trip. I even had ChatGPT try to figure it out for me, but most of the information wasn't accurate. But I feel frustrated because I can't create in that, venue right now, because I don't know enough about how to be a software developer. I don't know the language. I don't know the vocabulary, right? I don't know I have to put that together first before I can create in that, media, if you will. And that's true of anything we do, right?
Yes. And I'm sorry to stop your momentum, but in marketing terms, one of the toughest things is find the person that you want to speak to. Okay. Then people are going to call it your niche, your avatar, your customer profile. Those are all, fancy terms, but really it's like, who do you want to work with? And the toughest part is understanding who that person is. So if you're asking for an AI to produce content for you, do you know the type of content to ask AI to produce?
Right. No, and you don't. And that's part of the problem. And I think that's where, coaching and businesses who help you get past those hurdles, and somebody like me who's a curriculum, writer. I mean, I know how to teach kids science. I know the chemistry. I know what they need to know in order to do well in high school and college, right? I could ask ChatGPT to write me an outline, but it wouldn't really produce a curriculum that I think would necessarily help kids get to where they need to get, because that's what I bring to the table. That's my unique perspective. That's the knowledge base that I've gained.
Yeah.
And when I think about marketing my business, I know a lot about marketing, but I don't know enough. That's why I hired people like you, so that you bring your experience in and say, well, we can do this and we can do this and we can do that. And, same with like coaching, right? I like to lift weights and, be fit. But if I really want to maximize my potential, I go get a good coach. I go get a good business mentor. I go get a good marketing, advisor. I go get a good sales advisor, of all the things that I know something about, but I don't have the knowledge base. And that's where ChatGPT can help you with an outline. But the people who can really create in those fields are where you're really going to find, you're going to find the actual, the jewel there. It's going to be much more rich and in depth than what I think an AI will ever be able to give you, because an AI doesn't have this human experience.
Yeah, that's right. And no matter how much training it has, no matter how many sites it swipes copy from or words or whatever, it will never, ever, ever, ever be able to tell your story.
Right,
Never.
exactly.
And as business owners, that is our difference. That anybody can start a social media marketing agency. Anybody can start a publishing company. Anybody can write curriculum. Anybody can create graphics and write copy. But nobody can do it like Rebecca Woodbury Keller. Nobody can do it like Heather Holloway. Neither can AI.
Right. Because, what I bring to the table when it comes to curriculum and science education is my own failings, if you will, when I was a young student, my own frustration, the areas where I felt behind. I had a yoga teacher once tell me that the best yoga instructors are those who struggle to learn how to do yoga because they know where the holes are, right?
Yeah.
And the same is true with me. It's like, I know exactly what it took for me to get where I am, not being a reader until I was in the 4th grade, being behind my peers, going into college and flunking my first exams, right? I had to do all this work to get where I am. And now I look back and go, oh, if I'd had this, and I talked to many parents and many educators who look at what I've produced and said, oh, if I'd had this, I would have done much better. I might have pursued that degree in pharmacy, or I wouldn't have dropped out of medical school because I would have had this foundation. And that's the value of having unique human experiences. ChatGPT can maybe write an outline, but it isn't going to put those elements in it, that is actually going to get somebody over that hurdle.
Yeah.
It's the difference between following a recipe and going and eating, a meal with a great chef.
Yeah, right.
I can follow the recipe, but you know the difference between a meal you eat following a recipe and the meal you eat that's created by a great chef.
Yes. Sorry, I just dropped something. Thank goodness it's in live. Yes. Oh my gosh. Right. And that's, that's what almost ChatGPT is they'll spit out the recipe almost in a way. In fact, I just used it to write a commercial script for our podcast.
Yeah.
And it shot off with an amazing open, but then it got wonky and I was like, whoa, we're really off at the end here. And so there has to be finesse. You have to go back into it. But it got me like 70% of the way there.
Right.
And so do you think that's the advantage? That's what we should be
Absolutely.
going for?
Absolutely. And I think ChatGPT is great for that stuff. We use it to write a distributor letter because I'm like, I need to write a couple of these distributor letters. And it's 11 o'clock at night and my brain's dead. Okay. Give me the basics. What would you say? How would you say this in a friendly tone? How would you say this in a corporate tone? Right? You can do it in different tones.
Yeah.
But you have to be the one to evaluate whether or not, number one, that information is correct.
Yeah.
And number two, whether or not it really is saying what you want it to say, which means you have to have some command over the English language, right? You have to have some of your own knowledge base.
Yes.
To know that it's saying the right things in the way that you want to say it.
Yeah.
And you have to critically evaluate, but it can augment your creativity. It's like, oh, that's actually a pretty good letter at the end of it. And I did it in 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's
the
feeling I'm going for is, oh, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. Like I'm way into nutrition and stuff too. So I'll be like, hey, ChatGPT, create me a week's worth of meals with these macros.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we could do that.
Oh yeah, it's pretty fun. And then it will create, and I'm like, no, I don't want to eat pork, so I'll just give it some specifics. And it will create me a good, week's worth of meals with a certain number of macros. And then I'd ask for the recipes, and then I ask for a shopping list. Okay, that's pretty good. But the truth is that if I'm really went back into training for something seriously, I would want to talk to somebody who has more depth than just the recipe that ChatGPT is able to give me. It's great to get me started, gives me ideas, but if I really want to get serious, I would go hire somebody who, can help me with my personal individual physiology to get the gains I'm looking for. So that's the difference. I can quickly do something and get me started. Same with, developing this app, right? So I asked it to develop the app for me. It's like, well, I don't know how to do this app, so you just do it for me. And it spit out all this stuff. And all it did really was show me all the things I don't know. And I'm like, all right, so I need to go and I need to watch this video on MySQL because I don't know what that is. I don't even know what that means. I need to watch, a video on Python. I need to watch a video on Java. I need to understand, I need to put these things together so that I have command of that, more command of that field, right? But the best thing I can do is go ask my daughter, who's a computer software programmer, and she, because she's been doing it for years, can say, hey, mom, you really want to start with Python? That's what you want to start with. Okay, cool. Right? Because she has that depth of knowledge that I don't have. And ChatGPT isn't going to tell me. It's going to say, it's just going to spit out, a starting place.
Yeah.
But it's always going to take us to go critically evaluate it. And then in order to be creative, we have to develop those skills inside of us, right? We have to learn the vocabulary, learn the facts. We have to commit things to memory because that helps us with our quick recall. Because ultimately what we want as human beings is we want to be able to connect the dots that no one else can see right now. Right? And that requires, a really deep command of the industry that you're in, whether it's marketing or writing books.
I was just going to say, and that's a beautiful way to say it, is just become a master of your industry, then use AI. Become a master first. Otherwise, you don't know what's good and what's not.
Right. Exactly. Well, and it's interesting because you have to be a little careful. I also watched a TikTok video of a doctor who spit in, who typed in.
Oh, please don't tell me he's like, it kind of looks red and it's a little, what should I prescribe? No.
He typed in some symptoms. And then ChatGPT, he was typing in some symptoms and ChatGPT came out and said the woman's symptoms, was for chondritis or whatever. And, he would be like, okay. And it was connected to the women who take birth control. And he's like, okay, that was a weird connection. Turns out that ChatGPT lied to him. He starts quizzing it. So he said, okay, well, where's the reference for this? Where's this reference between chondritis and, I'm not saying it right, but, and birth control? And ChatGPT's, gave him a reference, and he tried to find the reference and it wasn't there. But he knew enough to know the diagnosis it was a little off. It was very close, but it was a little off.
Yeah. And
ChatGPT continued to lie to him and defend itself. So maybe that can get better over time. And I will ask ChatGPT to truthfully answer something now. Truthfully tell me what this is. And but you have to be careful because it's just pulling stuff from the web and it can create whatever it wants based off of that. And so that's where, again, this doctor has a command on his, of his field, thank goodness. Didn't just take, he said, that's not a bad diagnosis, but where's this connection to birth control? It doesn't exist. And was able to challenge, the AI on that.
Yeah. I thought the story was going to go the opposite way, where ChatGPT was like, I just discovered this thing that nobody's been able to discover. Turns out, no, ChatGPT was wrong. But there might be discoveries like that. We have yet to figure it out.
Right. That's where we have to be careful. And I know that there are some educators that are worried that students are going to use it and probably already are to write essays.
You know it.
And cite references. And
What's
that's
the thing
fine.
that students have been trying to do since students have been students?
They've been paying other people to do it. And now
they can do it for free.
But they have to check the references. They have to check you have to be able to evaluate whether or not what it's written is true, accurate, and that's why you have to have a command over your field.
Yeah.
And I think that's the challenge. That's the piece where, to sort of jump to the, next pieces of the article that I wrote, there's something to being willing to struggle, right? Being willing to puzzle over something, to learn it, right? I think a lot of times we don't like to struggle. We want it to be easy. And, having written curriculum for 30 years, I'll get parents who are like, the curriculum is too hard for my student, or the curriculum is too easy. You need to change the curriculum. And I remind them that learning happens on this line that's right in between frustration and boredom. And what we need to learn how to do is that when we're bored, increase the challenge. And when we're frustrated, decrease it slightly, chunk it down. So for example, I'm trying to learn this, I really do at some point want to create my own computer app, right? I want to learn it. I don't want just the AI to do it for me. But in order for me to do it, I got to the frustration level. It was too much information too soon with not enough definition.
Yeah.
So I have to chunk it down. I have to bring it back down so that these are manageable, chunks that I can learn. If I get bored, then I have to increase my challenge. Yeah. And I think as a society, we tend to veer away from that more, especially when it comes to education. We want kids to be happy. We want them to be entertained. We think if they're bored, well, it's a problem with the teacher or the curriculum. We think if they're frustrated, it's again a problem with the teacher or the curriculum. And it's really neither. It's just they're not on the right line for learning. And I think unless we embrace that learning something takes time, it takes effort,
work,
struggle. I'd love to be able to play the Moonlight Sonata, have no desire to take piano lessons. Right. But I would love to have that feeling. I would love to be able to do that. Yeah. But at this moment in my life, and never had I before really wanted to do the work. Yeah. And I think that's the piece that people jump to AI as if it's going to solve the work for us. It's going to augment our work. And I think it's going to help us do more work more efficiently. Yeah. And we should all utilize AI for that, to that degree. But ultimately, it's not going to solve the problem that we have to work. We have to struggle. We have to puzzle. We have to figure stuff out. Yeah. If we really want to master our industries.
Yeah. And also, look, the AI isn't going to spit copy out for you. You have to do the work by putting it in there. Yes. So you're going to feel that. You could potentially feel that frustration. That's interesting, because we are pleasure-seeking beings. We don't have time for pain. We don't have time to be frustrated. Get it done now. Get it done yesterday, right? In this country. So I see the appeal. I see why, like, write me a blog post, write me an ad, is so, and this AI is so appealing, because we just don't take the time for it. But if you do take the time to become the master, to command your industry, you do set yourself apart. You have to. Yes. I mean, you're gonna quality in, quality out. I go back to it, right?
Well, and you're going to be able to quickly evaluate what an AI is going to spit out for you. Yep. The more you have master of your topic, industry, whatever, the more efficient AI is going to make you, right? It's going to spit out a bunch of junk for people who aren't really evaluating I would expect that there's going to be a lot more junk out there, honestly.
Yeah.
As AI is going to, even artwork, right? I've had AI do some art for me. I'm like, yeah, no, I really, sort of interesting, but you can tell, right?
Yeah.
But, you see an artist who's really created something out of their soul, and it's got a completely different vibe to it, right? Yeah. But that took years of developing, that insight, those skills, right? Yeah. But I do think that AI is going to help us be way more efficient, especially, in the industry, writing letters or doing, emails, or a lot of sort of the daily tasks we do that, okay, you need a template. It's easier to edit something that's already written.
Yes. Oh, hallelujah. Yes, absolutely. I want to finish up with this on your point 5. It says, become heroes, not just entertainers. Can you talk about that on point 5, where you say, become the next generation of creators using technology, not just the consumers of technology. The people who can create using all the tools modern technology has given us will have control, power, and financial freedom. Tell me about that.
Well, I think that, that comes from, right. So there's all these problems out there that we need to solve. And I do think AI and technology and whatever is new is going to help us be more efficient to solve those problems. But I think a lot of times, like you said, we get stuck in this, pleasure-seeking missile mindset, right? It's like, I just want to have fun. I just want to go for the thing that's going to, make me the most money the fastest. And although I enjoy TikTok and I like social media, I enjoy videos, I like watching comedy, I think we have to be careful, especially with the next generation, to not let this idea of becoming an easy, fast entertainer take over the need to solve the problems. Because solving the problems is going to take work. We see a problem out there, and you think, oh, I can't solve it. It's going to take work. I don't know how to fix it. But we can solve those problems. We can fix those problems. But I think unless we are willing to move through the struggle, learn the industry, try to figure out, what is it the fix going to look like? Maybe start a company, go through all the pains of running a company, or whatever. We're not going to solve those problems. And it's very easy for us to just think about being, fast cash entertainer.
Influencers. Yeah.
Influencers. Influencers, which is fun. Don't have necessarily any problem with that. But I want to see more problem solvers. I want to see people more willing to take on the hard subjects of, how do we fix recycling, even in your own hometown? Right now, we say we have recycling, but it all goes into the landfill. So what would it take to really make that happen? Right? What would it take to really, work on climate change? It's definitely changing. What would it really take to do that? It's going to be a combination of science and politics, clearly, right? And all that's hard. My personal passion is how do I change the way that science is learned by students? It's not just and how it's taught, how it's taught and how it's received. I want kids to walk away with more than what I walked away with from my high school education, which was the basic foundation of what I needed to do college courses and the confidence that goes with that. What does that look like? That's a really hard, intractable problem to solve, as it turns out, because it is about curriculum. It's also about philosophy. It's about mindset. It's about systemic changes within, the public education system. There's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. And yet that's the thing I'm passionate about. And so what I really am trying to do in that last paragraph is let's think about being heroes. Let's think about solving those problems. There's lots of childhood diseases out there that need to be fixed. Let's go get them, right? There's lots of areas where, there's food deserts. There's people who don't have good basic, their basic water. Basic needs for water met. These are all these problems out there that we need the next generation of, kids to want to go solve, and not just make money and get swag by being an influencer. And so that's what that last paragraph is about. Let's go solve these problems. Let's get as fired up about that.
I love that.
As we do about,
the next AI, right? The next TikTok, the next fad, right?
The next fad, and I do think AI is going to help us, but it's not going to replace us, because, and in order for it, truthfully, it could replace us if we let our brains atrophy, if we just decide, imagine, you have I was watching Elysium, and it has that, Matt Damon has that suit on, right? To go fight the big bad, robots.
Yeah.
And I could imagine, okay, we could all make external suits to make us stronger externally, but our muscles are going to atrophy. We're not actually going to be stronger. And the same that happens with our brains. If we don't try to learn subjects that we might not even be interested in, we atrophy. If we don't commit to memory some of the things that we need to learn, we atrophy. If we don't pursue opposing viewpoints, in other words, if we don't look at things that challenge us, we atrophy. Our ability to think critically and our ability to think creatively will just go away. And that's my fear. That was kind of why I wrote this article. It's look, we can cultivate creative thinking on top of critical thinking. We need both. But we need to cultivate that creative thinking channel, because I do worry we're going to lose it. If we don't intend to, have an intention to maintain it.
We're gonna give you listeners the biggest competitive advantage you could ever get. Ready?
Absolutely.
It boils down to one word, Rebecca, and you're gonna love it. Read.
Yes.
In this digital age, to have a competitive advantage, pick up a stinking book.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you can, pick up a print book.
Pick up a print book. Yeah, not even digital, man. I pick up the print book and the audio copy. I listen to it as I read if I can. If there's too
and that's great.
Yeah.
You can, and I consume information online on digital books. And I also, when I really want to learn something, I buy the print book so I can write in it. It's a number of different ways that I learn. And learning how you learn is the key. What is it that helps you learn something? Maybe slightly different than me, but it's probably going to have similar elements.
Yeah.
Right. So if audio, you learn through audio, do that. Reading, the combination, learning how to learn.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what I want to do through the programs that I create, is help kids learn how to learn and get excited about that. Yeah. I want them as excited about solving a science problem as they are about doing a TikTok video.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah, because science, man, science is cool. Hey, it was just a perfect tee up to where can people find you online?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different websites for our products, www.realscienceforkids.com or www.ratataz, ratataz.com. We also have some social media pages. We have a Facebook page. We have Instagram. I am also on LinkedIn. Yeah. So yeah, there's a number of different channels out there to find us.
Fantastic. And I hope you do. I hope you subscribe, follow Rebecca, watch what she's saying. She is a thought leader out there in the field. She is trying to solve world problems, one kid at a time, one vocab word at a time. Exactly. She's trying to help us not lose out on our Einsteins. Look, your kids might be looking out there for a way to love science. You might be looking for a way to love science. Get on rs4k.com, get on ratataz.com, support your local science teachers.
Right. Support those teachers.
Yeah. Support those teachers. So Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me on a conversation of AI, ChatGPT, the future, what's happening. And the most important part is don't stop learning, become that master in your field. And we'll all be better for it. So Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. Always a delight to chat with you, Heather. This has been fun.
Cool. Thanks. I'm Heather Holloway, and you've been listening to Social Media Success for Professionals. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me and my team. Hey, remember, check the show notes for resources and links to other episodes, and don't forget to hit that subscribe and follow button to be notified when new episodes are released.